back of the labels on the food we purchase. Food is what we eat at least 3 times a day, but do we thoroughly examine the details of the chemicals in our food? We should be informed of the insidious chemicals and organisms present in the food because we should have a right to know of the detrimental effects they have on the body. GMO foods comprise an enormous portion of the foods we consume daily. Many of them, as have other toxic chemicals in prodigious amounts of our foods, have led to breakdowns in many of our body's internal systems. Let's bring up examples of this cornucopia of genetically modified foods and chemicals throughout the foods we consume daily. There are many unnatural chemicals present in our food. One of them is aspartame. In the 1970s, Searle tried to get aspartame approved by the FDA, and it took him 3 times before the FDA let it pass in the 80s. What is aspartame, you ask? It is the fecal matter of the E. coli bacteria after it has been fed toxic waste. It is a sweetener often used as a sugar substitute. Aspartame is currently found in almost all chewing gum, diet sodas, medicines, yogurt, and condiments such as ketchup. Another toxic chemical in an extensive amount of food is BPA, or better known as bisphenol A, which is an endocrine disruptor. An endocrine disruptor interferes with the production, secretion, transport, action, function, and elimination of all natural hormones. Although BPA is not initially present in the foods we consume, it is present in all of the food containers, which then leaches onto the food, or many of the food containers. Some sources include almost all forms of plastic food containers, such as plastic water bottles, tin food cans, and soda cans. It is also present in tons of non-food products as well. Maryland, along with a collection of other states, have even gone so far as to ban the chemical. Mercury, although not necessarily a chemical, is a heavy metal that is toxic to humans when ingested. Through a legal process of disposing industrial hazardous waste over farmland, many chemicals like mercury end up in the fertilizer. The plants then pull in these toxins from the ground. Studies show 85% of the children's drinks contain high levels of lead. Washington Post reported in 2009 that nearly a third of the top 55 name brand foods and beverages were filled with mercury. Other food toxicity includes GMOs. GMO is an acronym for genetically modified organism, which is an organism whose genetic code and material has been altered. 90% of the foods we consume have some source of genetically modified organism in them, whether it's a modified corn or modified soy or etc. These companies can sell their corn for a fraction of its production, making it very cheap, and the natural corn seemingly exorbitant. These genetically modified corn goes on to produce cornstarch, which produces many obscure ingredients such as maltodextrin, sorbic acid, and other high product sources such as high fructose corn syrup. According to an article at recipes.howstuffworks.com, some other popular GMO food sources include tomatoes, rice, potatoes, milk, and canola oil. Remember all of those chemicals I discussed earlier? Let's proceed to unveil their effects on the human body. Aspartame has been linked to leukemia, blindness in one or both eyes, ear tinnitus, and gradual weight gain. Studies in the EU have linked it to lower birth weights in early babies, early birth, and sometimes, in a lot of cases, even miscarriages. The reason Searle was denied multiple times in his request were because the monkeys that were being fed with the aspartame received epileptic seizures, even death. And it also caused microscopic tumors in the brains of mice and was converted by animals into other dangerous substances. It causes brain cancers and seizures in humans, along with other brain problems like memory loss, insomnia, personality changes, etc. This sweetener has also been classified as very addictive. On to bisphenol A, the hormone disruptor. This chemical is affecting hormonal balances in both men and women, feminizing boys and hyperfeminizing girls. This reduces hormones. Fertility, causes early puberty among children, reproductive problems, and sometimes even sterility. This hormonal disruptor acts as a xenoestrogen, which increases estrogen-related diseases such as breast cancer. It is also linked to prostate cancer. Did you know 1 in 88 children and 1 in 88 and 54 boys are now being diagnosed with autism? Autism has also been found to be related to BPA. Most people are familiar with the term mercury poisoning, which occurs from ingesting too much mercury, which I previously stated was found in a third of our top 55 foods in the U.S. According to New York Times, its effects can lead to massive blood and fluid loss, kidney failure, and likely death. You ever heard of that phrase, you are what you eat? Well, this phrase is vindicated in GMO foods because the microRNA from the foods has been found to be retained in the body when consumed. This is dangerous because microRNA is another form of DNA, which actually teaches the body how to react to things. So in essence, you're basically, as you consume genetically modified foods that grow their own pesticides, such as the genetically modified corn that grows its own pesticide that is now being used to produce over 90% of the corn products that we eat today. You're in essence, your body is learning to grow its own pesticide because the RNA is being retained in our body systems. Monsanto has made claims that it has no need to test the safety of its GMO products on humans, but studies have found otherwise. The GMO corn shows kidney and liver toxicity in animal feeding studies and massive increases in sterility in rats and guinea pigs who were fed the GMO corn and cotton seeds. When the cotton seeds were fed to cows, they started having miscarriages, low birth weights, abortions, or they just died. The GMO crops are even going so far as to kill the vital honeybees and monarch butterflies. The sperm count in the Western nation has dropped exponentially. Even the government now admits that in another generation we will almost be sterile. Studies have linked GMO food side effects among humans, including accelerated aging, immune dysfunction, insulin disorders, organ damage, and reproductive disruption. We covered aspartame, BPA, mercury, and GMOs with all their very insidious effects. All of these atrocious foods and chemicals are constantly running through our body systems each day with constant consumption. We covered the multiple popular brands of foods that were genetically modified and the cancerous chemicals and their egregious effects on the basic human functions. No food should be allowed that allows such toxic chemicals to be given to children. With 90% of the food available in the U.S. for consumption as GMO food, all natural food is being phased out and very scarce. If we are to ensure future generations, it is imperative that the FDA as well as the people speak out about such poison as being eaten as if it were really food. Now that one is informed of these chemicals, I hope you will be more inclined to eat natural and organic foods, because I know I am, because I have barely scratched the surface about the food and the harms of this body, the food and the harms that it causes the body.